Okay, so the next test is over chapters 5 through 8. So glycolysis, that converts glucose into two, what kind of molecules? Is it glycogen, lactate, acetyl-CoA, or pyruvate?
Pyruvate.
It's pyruvate. Very good. Gunnar, do your dreams mean anything? Okay. Okay, aerobic cellular respiration. Does it use glucose? Does it generate water? Or does it generate oxygen? Or does it both uses glucose and generates water? Both, you're correct. It both uses glucose and it generates water. Both of those are correct. Each turn of the citric acid cycle, which is also called the Krebs cycle, directly produces blank molecule or molecules of ATP. Each turn of the citric acid cycle directly produces 1, 2, 4, or no molecules of ATP. Yes, 1. Energy that is lost during the process of aerobic cell respiration is given off as, is it carbon dioxide, water, oxygen, or metabolic heat?
Metabolic heat.
Yes, metabolic heat. Very good. The electron transport system is a series of blank reactions. Is it a series of reversible reactions or oxidation reduction reactions? The electron transport system. Remember, after the Krebs, you go down to the electron transport. That is the oxidation reduction reactions. AT formation in the electron transport system, is that called direct phosphorylation, oxidative phosphorylation, or substrate level phosphorylation? ATP formation in the electron transport system is called oxidative phosphorylation. In newborn, what occurs in brown fat? Are we talking about biogenesis, thermogenesis, glucogenesis, or lipogenesis? Think about the prefixes of the word. Newborns and in brown fat. Say it again. The thermogenesis. How many amino acids are essential for an adult? 8, 9, 10, or 12? 8, correct. So ammonia is produced through the process of, is it the Cori cycle, glycogenolysis, oxidative deamination, or transamination? Ammonia is produced through the process of oxidative deamination. ATP generated in the citric acid cycle. Where does that come from? Does it come from GTP? The majority of the water within the body is found in is it in the interstitial fluid, the extracellular compartment, or the intracellular compartment? The majority of water within the body is found in the, yes, the intracellular compartment. So if we're talking about a membrane, I started to say phospholipid membrane, same thing. If we're talking about a membrane that allows only certain molecules to pass through it, it's called, what kind of permeability is that? Yeah, selective permeability. Passive transport of water is known as, the key word there is water.
Osmosis.
Yes, osmosis. Active transport cannot reach a saturation point, requires cofactors, cannot transport molecules against a concentration gradient, or it utilizes energy. Active transport. What do you need for active transport? You need energy, so it utilizes energy. Diffusion. Does it decrease, increase, or does not change the entropy of a solution? Diffusion. Increase. Good try though. A solution of a solute. A solution consists of a solvent which dissolves the what? Solute. I'll say it again. A solution consists of a solvent which would dissolve the solute, right? So dialysis, does that use the process of facilitated diffusion or simple diffusion? Dialysis. Simple. Simple diffusion. Hydrophobic molecules usually enter a cell via, is it osmosis, active transport, protein channels, or diffusion? Hydrophobic molecules usually enter a cell via what? Diffusion? The resting membrane potential is closest to the equilibrium potential for what? Is it sodium ions, chloride, calcium, or potassium ions? What's the other one in that pump we talked about? Potassium ions. Okay, so the sodium potassium pump, tell me true or false, contributes to the maintenance of the negative resting membrane potential. Right, true. Okay, retrograde transport. Does this move substances towards the cell body? Yeah, it does that. Does it move membranes, vesicles, and viruses? Retrograde transport. Yeah. Does it use molecular motor proteins of dynein? Yeah, it does all of those things. Sensory neurons. Are they multipolar, pseudo-unipolar, bipolar, or multipolar, first of all? Sorry, pseudo-unipolar. I said that one wrong. They are pseudo-unipolar. Do they carry impulses toward the central nervous system? Yes. Sensory neurons are pseudo-unipolar and they carry impulses toward the central nervous system. So what type of neuron is found entirely in the central nervous system? Is it sensory neurons, interneurons, association neurons, or both interneurons and association neurons? Somebody tell me. It doesn't hurt to guess, even if you're wrong.
What were the answers?
Sensory, interneuron, association, or both interneuron and association? Yes, both. Both interneuron and association neurons are correct. The myelin sheath of the central nervous system neurons, are those produced by your Schwann cells, your epidermal cells, your leukocytes, or your oligodendrocytes?
Can you say that again, please?
Sure. The myelin sheaths of the central nervous system, neurons, those are produced by the oligodendrocytes. Okay, when we talk about the term white matter, are we talking about the myelinated axons in the central nervous system or in the peripheral nervous system? White matter. Think about where your white matter is.
The
Central nervous system.
What is it in the central nervous system?
The term white matter refers to the myelinated axons in the central nervous system. So the most numerous of all cells in the central nervous system tissues are is it the microglia, the neurons, the Schwann cells, or the astrocytes? The most numerous. We just talked about this. They were green on the slide. The astrocytes. All right, during an action potential, what does sodium influx cause? Is it depolarization or repolarization? During an action potential, the sodium influx causes depolarization or repolarization? Depolarization, correct. What type of proteins are present at chemical synapses to ensure the close proximity of the presynaptic and the postsynaptic membranes? Is it myelin, terminal boutons, or cell adhesion molecules, CAMs? The types of proteins present at chemical synapses to ensure the close proximity of the pre- and postsynaptic membranes. That's your CAMs. That's your cell adhesion molecules. What type of autonomic fibers release acetylcholine at the effectors? Is that the sensory, somatic, or parasympathetic? Autonomic fibers that release ACH at the effectors. That is your, you had it right there. Say it. I saw your lips moving. Yes, parasympathetic. Okay. Histamine. What do you think about when you hear the word histamine? Allergies, that's what I think of. So histamine is able to act as a regulator in inflammation and allergies. True or false? True. The cerebellum forms from the metencephalon or the diencephalon. From the metencephalon. METENCEPHALON. Okay, cerebral spinal fluid. Where is it found? Is it within the central canal of the spinal cord? Is it within the ventricles of the brain? Is it within the olfactory bulbs, or is it both within the central canal and within the ventricles? Yes, both of those, within the central canal and the ventricles. I saw the head shaking.
What was it?
Cerebral spinal fluid is found both within the central canal and within the ventricles. Choose the complete list of lobes of the cerebrum. What's this one? Frontal. Then what do we have next? Parietal, temporal, insula, and occipital. Which one? The fourth one? Insula, INSULA. What type of neurons are found in the precentral gyrus? Is it the lower motor neurons, the upper motor neurons, the third order sensory neurons, or the second order sensory neurons? What type of neurons are found in the precentral gyrus? Upper motor neurons. So what structure separates the frontal and the parietal lobes? Is it the corpus callosum, the central sulcus, the lateral sulcus, or the longitudinal fissure? Yes, central sulcus. Okay, a raised area on the cerebral cortex. Is that a sulcus, a fissure, a gyrus, or a mirror neuron? The raised area on the cerebral cortex is a yes, gyrus. Chorea is most likely to result from damage to the, is it the premotor cortex or the caudate nucleus? The caudate nucleus, yes, very good.
Please spell that.
Spell it, CAUDATE, and then the word nucleus. The basal nuclei include the, does it include the reticular formation, the supraoptic nucleus, or the corpus striatum? The basal nuclei includes the corpus striatum, right? The cranial nerve with only sensory fibers, is that the vagus nerve, the optic nerve, the hypoglossal nerve, or the trigeminal nerve? The optic nerve? It's the optic nerve. The cranial nerve with only sensory fibers is the optic nerve. Okay, if the dorsal root of a spinal nerve were to be cut, the individual would, and I'm going to give you some examples, they would have no motor responses for that nerve. They would have no sensory perception for that nerve. They would have no reflexes involving that nerve, or both, no sensory perception from that nerve and no reflexes involving that nerve. It would be both, no sensory and no reflexes. Okay, the midbrain forms from the what? Mesencephalon. Mesencephalon. The midbrain. So is it the function of the inner neurons to link sensory stimuli with the appropriate motor responses? Yes. The total percentage of blood flow to the body per minute that goes to the brain, what percent is that? 15, 20, 25, or 30? That was on one of those slides.
25.
No, 15. But good guess. Neural stem cells in adult mammalian brains are they found in the cerebral cortex? Are they found in the midbrain? Are they found in the subgranular zone, the subventricular zone, or both the subventricular and subgranular zones? Neural stem cells. Those are found in both the subventricular and subgranular zones. Okay, so if we were going to make a statement characterizing the cerebral cortex, areas of the body with the greatest density of receptors will have the larger areas on the somoaesthetic cortex. True? Yes. Okay, REM, sleep, REM, sleep is unique from other stages in that, okay, memory consolidation can occur. Learning from activities during the day occurs. It causes ideal rest without emotional activation, or breathing and heart rate mimic the patterns during waking hours. REM sleep is unique from other stages of sleep in that the breathing and the heart rate mimic the patterns during waking hours. So what is the function of the motor circuit in the brain? It allows for the intended movements to occur while controlling the unwanted movements. Motor circuit in the brain. So individuals with aphasia, do they often have damage to the spinal nerves? Do they often speak slowly if the Wernicke area is damaged? Or they may not be able to write if the angular gyrus is damaged, as aphasia. They may not be able to write if the angular gyrus is damaged. Okay, a word salad. Speaking pattern occurs when which area is damaged? Is it the spinal nerves, the angular gyrus, the motor speech, or the Wernicke's area? Which one? Wernicke's, right. How do I spell that? Wernicke. apostrophe S. What structure connects the Wernicke's area to the motor speech area? Would that be the corpus callosum, corpus striatum, the angular gyrus, or the arcuate fasciculus? The arcuate fasciculus. So the hypothalamus and the limbic system. Think about what the limbic system does. Those are involved in, are they involved in aggression? We're talking about emotions. Yes. Fear? Yeah. Sex? Yeah. Goal-directed behavior? Yeah, all those. Damage to the temporal lobe of the cerebrum would have the greatest impact on, would it be vision, hearing, skeletal muscle contraction? Which would it be? The temporal lobe. Think about where the temporal lobe is. Hearing, vision, skeletal muscle contraction. Hearing. Think about where it is. Yeah, I know. Which type of EEG pattern is an awake adult, which type of EEG pattern in an awake adult is indicative of brain damage? Is it alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, or delta waves? Yeah, it was the delta waves. Impaired motor coordination in Parkinson's disease is often due to, is it degeneration of the red nucleus or degeneration of the substantia nigra? What? Substantia nigra. Basal nuclei function. Is dopamine associated? Is it okay? Which neurotransmitter is not associated with basal nuclei function? Is dopamine, glutamate, GABA? Okay. So all of the neurotransmitters play a major role in the basal nuclei function. In most individuals, writing skills would be impaired if damage to the blank occurred. Would it be the right central hemisphere or the left central hemisphere? In most individuals, writing skills would be impaired if damage to the, is it left cerebral? Thank you, very good. Recognition of a friend's face is a function of the blank cerebral hemisphere in most individuals. Is it the right, the left, or both? Recognition of a friend's face is a function of the right side, right cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so which area of the brain contains neural stem cells that are apparently important in learning and memory? Is it the subgranular zone of the hippocampus, the temporal lobe, the cerebral cortex? It's the subgranular zone of the hippocampus. The blank is a cerebral lobe that is involved in memory and integration of sensory information, mostly pain, with visceral responses? Is that going to be the temporal, the frontal, the parietal, or the insula? Anybody? Insula. A blank would detect increased activity in the brain in response to stimuli. Would it be a electroencephalogram, a computed tomography scan, or a functional magnetic resonance imaging scan? Increased activity in the brain in response to stimuli. Be a functional MRI.